Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. I've talked about many subjects, and I'm sure I've talked about terrorism at least once. But I'm seeing a lot of that stuff taking place today. And I'm studying what has happened in the past when powers that be want to interject some type of change within society, and it's going to use something bizarre in order to accomplish that. And in order to get that in motion, they start doing something to get the public in a certain kind of mindset, which would permit them to kind of close their eyes to what's going to really be going down. And usually, in the most prevalent years, we have used fear as that factor that puts people in that state of being. And fear within the United States has been terrorism. Even when it was proven after the fact that there was no terrorism, or that the parties that be were implicit in their own terrorist fears. In other words, it's screwed up all around. I'm looking at the terrorist. To some, terrorists would be those who have the technological advance, and they want to use that and use it, in fact, to gain advantage over a people who perhaps have something that is of interest to that one with all that power, and they're using that power to take what they want. And if this smaller power does not submit, then sometimes there's an ultimate price to pay, and they will pay that price. And that ultimate mightier power appears to be terrorist to those lesser powers. And even to those who are members of that mighty power, everything that is done is justified because they see some way that they themselves perhaps benefit from that activity. And if they benefit from it, it must be okay. While on the other end, they have been terrorized. And God is not, Allah has not come to their rescue. I'm thinking about this in the terms that men would look at it and say, well, this did drive them to this extent. And I see a lesser power thinking of some retaliatory action that they must take. And they get up, they don't have the technological advance, they get up with their bow and arrows. They get up with their sticks and stones. And they come back at a moment when it's least expected. And they hurtle danger and injury and pain and suffering and death upon innocent people in retaliation for what has happened to them. And at this moment, those who come with rocks and bow arrows and sticks and stones are referred to as terrorists that's attacking the powers that be. In reality, when you step back and look at it, you see both the same terrorist acts. One is to take advantage, to exploit. Another is to resist. And you look at death that's all rampant on both sides, and it's usually of the innocent. And so if you look for answers and solutions, you have to have your focus on the protection of the innocent. And so what is it that would protect the innocent? Well, we see that all of the turmoils and all of the conflicts seems to come at the expense of someone trying to take something from somebody else for a benefit, as I've just described. So it would appear to me, and as to me, perhaps everyone else, that the solution would be in making sure that all parties concerned would be guaranteed that those things so essential that they are fighting for right now will be guaranteed to them so they don't have to fight. And the way to assure this would be written into the implementation of the process. I heard it said that there are certain things that are common amongst each individual for survival. And that's food and clothing and shelter, to name just a few. Food, clothing, and shelter. Nobody can live without it. You can't live without a body. You can't live without oxygen. Those are given. Water, too, used to be free. Food stopped being free a long time ago. But you need these things for survival. Every human being on the face of the earth. Now, beyond that, you need education. Education has a purpose. Education allows you to get out of the darkness, get out of the ignorance. It allows you to grow, to develop, to make your potential higher, to make your dreams further and further away and so much beautiful, and dares you to come at it. Well, all of these things. You also need health care to protect you in the event. And somebody say, okay, you guarantee these to all of the people. Then all of the people getting what they won't have any incentive to go forward, to do anything. They would just destroy themselves. And I'm thinking about, how in the world do they come up with stuff like that? They always use that as an excuse. The incentive. Like, when you're working for money, you got an incentive. Money. What do you do with money? Food, clothing, and shelter, and education, and health care. That's what you do with money. So now, but money is the incentive, they say. But money also is the cause of the problem. Because the way the system's set up in order to get the money, it allows for all of the things that's happening in the world. Everything that's going on into the world, it allows for it to happen. Remember this. The other way, when you're making sure that every human being on the face of the earth has these things, how do you get it done? By engaging every individual in the process of creating those goods, creating those services, making them available to one another. And how do you get them to go into these indulgences? How do you get them to put their hand to the plow? By allowing them to choose what it is they desire to do. And by making that choice, this is what gives them their greatest reward. Having a purpose on this earth. Being useful on this earth and knowing it. And having put your hands to the plow. Having given of yourself. You become part of the finished product. You become owners of it. All of us become owners of it. And we don't have to buy what is ours. We take from it as we need it, want it, or desire it. Each of us on the face of the earth, guaranteeing that to one another. No need to lie, cheat, or steal. That is, to me, the mission. And so getting revenge doesn't bring us any closer to that. Lying, cheating, stealing, and killing, taking advantage of people doesn't get us any closer to that. So if that doesn't get us any closer, if revenge doesn't get us any closer, then where are we trying to do? Are we trying to get to the end of the rainbow? Then if we're trying to get to the end of the rainbow, why we keep going up against that same old wall that says, no way, Jose? It seems that each of us who are constantly failing should come to a standard and say, what is it that we're missing? And I guarantee you we will say we are missing each other. And the moment we come together as one, We got it. We got it, plain and simple. No more poverty. No more people missing that. Everybody is engaged in the process. And ladies and gentlemen, as we create, you know technology is going to always be, and it's going to be replacing a lot of the things that we as human beings do today. But in so doing that, it opens up doors for us to reach out in other directions and keep climbing and climbing. And when I say climbing, I'm not talking about trying to build a tower or Babel. I'm not talking about trying to go to heaven. I'm talking about experiencing heaven right now according to our understanding of what it means, of what it truly means, by allowing a spirit that made us to live in us. And we know that that spirit is real because that spirit that lives in us is in each of us. And it is not trying to destroy itself. Never. It's trying to engage itself, to come together at all of these different bodies and finish a work that is everlasting. Somebody say, never ending. But that's life, not death. So my challenge to the whole human race, to the terrorists on both sides, to the people who just sit back and don't know what to do, is to do something. And what is that to do? Is to get rid of all the programming that you've got and allow the spirit of your being, the spirit of your being, exist in you, live in you. And tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, as I mention this to you, I want you to keep this in mind as I'm talking to you. When that spirit is in you, you still will have choice. One choice will lead to life. That's what I'm going to call it. And another choice will lead to death. That's what I'm going to call it. One leads to life and one leads to death. The one that leads to life says that everybody lives. The one that leads to death says some of us live. Some of us live. And neither can exist truly without your will. So I'm asking you to think about this thing real seriously. We've lived in a hell part, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, you're being offered the opportunity, you're being given the moment to make the choice that we're going to live for life. And we're going to love each other. And we're going to stop hating each other. And we're going to forgive those which it seems we have said unforgivable. But life is too wonderful for us to drag around a tag of resentment and got to get you. No, my friends, you are forgiven because when you are in the dark, you cannot see and you stumble all over the place. And by the mercies of something that's outside of you, something that's outside of me, explodes in such a way at least that some of us see. And those of us who see will never be known if we don't walk according to that light. And by virtue of that light do we drag all of our brothers and sisters out of the darkness. By virtue of responding positive to that light are we able to draw all of our sisters and brothers out of this darkness. And by George, that's to me and to some of us is what living is all about at this point and at this time. Now that's just about some of us. But the purpose is all of us.